Who do you call when your door won't open because you used the wrong pressure plate? Adequate. Who do you call when your clock doesn't work because you put the repeater in backwards? Adequate. Who do you call when your dispenser spits out the whole water bucket because you accidentally used a dropper instead? Adequate. That's right. For all your easily avoidable redstone mistakes, call Adequate Redstone. Bebop wanted me to start today's episode by telling you that his redstone isn't just adequate. Yes, I know, you are a better redstoner than me. All the people know this. Don't worry about it. Since we're going to spend most of the day today talking about redstone, it's probably only fair that he kind of clears the air on that topic. Don't worry, Bebop. I'll do a good job explaining, okay? No, I promise I will. I'll do a good job. Okay? Okay. Let's turn night into day, and then I'll go show you what we're talking about today. Actually, I almost forgot about Blco. Oh my goodness. If you haven't played yet, feel free to jump back to the previous episode and take a look for all the Blcos and count them and have a guess. And for those of you who have played already, here we go. Blco! Party time! Excellent! Blco number 1 was given to you at the beginning. Blco number 2 is hiding on the floor right behind me. Blco number 3 I placed right in front of your face. Blco number 4 was sneakily hiding behind the plant. Blco number 5 was just beside Bebop when we came to the portal. Blco number 6 was the hardest one to find. Blco number 7 was way in the background in the ground. Blco number 8 was hidden among all those bricks. Blocos number 9 through 96 were given to you as an apology for being late. Blco number 7 was way down there at the bottom of the mast. And Blco number 98 was right behind me, clearly in this room. How'd you do? Were they too easy? Too hard? Let me know below how you did, alright? I have a plan for this whole island over the course of the next several weeks and months. I know exactly more or less what I'm going to be building each week. And this week, I plan to make something kind of small. It's just some pillars and a fountain. And I've already dug a hole that I'm going to put some redstone in. The reason why I planned this small build today is because I want to spend a good bit of time talking about redstone, particularly for game mechanics. Not only did I dig this hole here, but I got a great big area down here. I don't really need this much room. When you're doing redstone, it's much better to give yourself extra room rather than just some small, narrow hallways to move through. Now, this is going to be a redstone heavy episode, but don't worry. If you are new to redstone or don't know a whole lot about it, this actually might be the perfect episode for you. If you're experienced, there may be only 1 or 2 tips, but for those of you who are new to redstone, this might actually be pretty helpful. I'm not an amazing redstoner. I'm kind of, I'm moderate. I'm okay. I'm adequate. So my redstone level is not too complex. So let's head over to my creative world. I've got some things laid out, and I would love to tell you all about the types of redstone that I'm going to use to make my Myst island. Here we are back again in my testing world. I would like to first talk about what you cannot do with redstone and one of the difficulties I have with this Myst island. If you see here in a screenshot of Myst, there's actually these little podiums scattered all throughout the island, and they are all interconnected. That is a bit of a problem for me if I wanted to duplicate exactly that kind of puzzle, because there's actually a distance problem with redstone. You can see all the way out there is a red lantern, and in theory, if I flick this switch, the red lantern should turn on, okay, right? If you see, it did not turn on. You see, most worlds work off of a simulation distance of 4 chunks. And if you don't know, a chunk is 16 blocks, so that means 4 chunks is 64 blocks, and that is as far as redstone will work. Now, I do have a solution for this. I realized having those podiums across the entire island, all at different locations that you could go to at different times, that's a little too much to pull off. However, As long as it's kind of a straight line and I'm forcing the player to actually walk along that line, then as you move forward, there you go, you see it came on. A permanently powered line will eventually keep pushing its way out to where it needs to go, but I have to be very careful about how I do that and make sure that the player walks the way I need him to walk so that he can activate the redstone all the way. Does that make sense? There we go. That's a little tip number 1. Tip number 2 is my biggest one. It's all this row all across through here. In Minecraft, one of the most common things you use in creating a game, escape room, or things of that nature is you want people to place items certain places or do combination locks. You know, you want to be able to do more than just turn something on or off. You want to have options, so it's a variable power, not just an on and an off power. I think the most obvious one would be some kind of a chest or storage container with a comparator on it and redstone. But this is not the best one to use for a game, especially if you want to have a variable power. Let's say you want something to trigger here rather than at the beginning or the end. And the reason for that is how many items. You have to fill this entire container up all the way if you want. See, out there, it stopped. It doesn't go all the way to the end if you don't have this thing completely full. A few containers that require less than 27 stacks of 64 items are these right here. A hopper can use 5 stacks, and this is actually a good reminder. It's why I put the sword in here. A stack is either 64 or 16 if it's like ender pearls or eggs or signs. But also an unstackable item is completely filling up a slot, so that counts. So it could be 6 swords, 6 non-stackable items, or 6 stacks of stackable items. Excuse me, 5, not 6. A pot is one of the new items. You can actually put things in here, but not different things. So only one type of thing can go in here. But it does take 64 items in here, unless you're using like a sword. If you're using a non-stackable item, I guess one thing would actually go all the way out, but that's not very variable. That's one item, maximum power of 15. But you can use 64 items to gradually get this power up to 15 to have it all the way out to there. Furnaces and the like are a little bit weird. It just has 2, but you got to put things in both slots. I'm not entirely sure I would suggest using that for almost anything except for maybe if you wanted to have like a hopper below it and you just put an item in and it sucks it down right away. But I don't know if I would use it for variable power. It's a little bit weird. The record player is a fun one. So let's grab some records here. We'll just grab the first 9 to show you as an example. The first one gives just a power level of 1. As you can see here, it's already coming out. If I take that record out and put in the second one, you got a power rating of 2. And then etc. 3, 4, all the way up to 9. Isn't that so cool? So up to pig step, you will have a different power rating. After that, it starts reusing different powers because they ran out of how far that a comparator can push a signal. Next up, we have the composter. I don't know if you know this, but you can get variable power out of a composter. So as you see, you start putting in, you already have, look, a level of 1. And you put in a few more. Okay, actually takes quite a few. There we go, level of 2. And if you keep going all the way up until there, then you'll get not a maximum power of 15, a maximum power of 8. The new bookshelves are crazy cool. It's not how many books you put in, but where you put them. It's so cool. One downside is it does stay in whatever the last state was. If we put a book in the number 5 slot, it'll power all the way up to 5. But if we pull that book out, it stays at 5. So that could be a negative or it could be a positive depending on what you're trying to do. Now we come to my 2 favorite ones. I actually use these the most in the Myst game, so keep an eye on these 2 in particular. So if you have an item frame on a block and you put an item in it and you run a comparator out of that block, then it reads what state the item is in. And if you turn it, you get 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. This is one that I definitely use more than once during this Myst island creation. And the other is the book. It starts off with 1, but then as you turn the pages, go up several pages, then it has a variable amount of power that you can get all the way up to when you get to page 50, it'll power the last piston. So really what you have here is options. So now we get to the third thing I wanted to talk about. How can you use the variable power in a helpful way? Because for example, let's say you want to give signal whenever it gets to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You want 6 to give signal. Well, technically, let me get rid of this device real quick. Technically, if you just run it all the way to maximum, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, no, maximum. There we go. If you run it all the way to maximum, then 6 will still work. So if someone was trying to use your device, they can just run every dial all the way to maximum and it will work just fine. Well, that doesn't work for me. So there are a couple different ways that you can stop that from happening. This is the first way that I learned how to do this. But the problem is it's noisy. And why do you not want noise? Well, if a piston pushes every time something gets correct, then all somebody has to do is slowly turn dials until they hear a piston move on every single one of them, and then they'll have it. But if that's not really an issue, this is the easiest way to do it. So whenever it gets to 6, let's turn it up to 6 now. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There we go, 6. Then it'll push power through to where you want it. So all we're doing is supplying a line of power. We're pulling it off with the repeater where we want it. And then we're running it off. We're using a block for a very special reason I'll tell you about, but then we're running it off to wherever we need the device to be. That's what this is representing, the device we're powering. You with me? If you want to stop this from happening beyond this point, then we are pulling power at the number 7 spot, running it into a piston so that whenever it goes beyond 6, it actually will break the connection at 6. See this? So we're gonna go to 7 right here. There we go. When it hits 7, it pushes away and stops the signal from flowing through. Cool? Great? You with me? No? Okay, sorry. Hopefully you are. This is how you can do it silently though. Just like before, I've got a row of signal running up and down, and we're gonna pull it off at 6 just like we did. We're going to have a repeater going into a block, going into a redstone torch. Now, if you don't know, a redstone torch going into a block with a redstone torch on it will actually reverse the signal on the other torch. If we get rid of that, it's powered. And when it's there, that is powering this block, reversing this torch. And we're gonna use that to our advantage, because then when you go to 7, it'll power this and then reverse this signal again. Let me just show you. It sounds complicated, but it's not. We're gonna go up to 6. There we are. And by powering this block and turning this off, we're having the signal that we want come out of there, and we can run that signal to whatever device we're trying to power. But if we give it one more signal, what happens is this powers on, powering this block again and turning this off. It's a little bit more complicated, but it is silent. It's perfectly silent. No one can hear this happening. So maybe this is the direction you want to go. You can always come back here and see what I did if you need to have a visual example of how it works. But that's basically, that's it. That's how that works. And next, we're going to turn all those into combination locks. The basic idea for combination lock, in my opinion, is you have a power source running along a line to where you want to get to. And what you're trying to have happen is each step along the way, your 3 or however many different codes in your combination you want, they will set up each step along the way, allowing the device to be powered. So, for example, let's see, what do I have? Oh, yes, I forgot, I'm using regular pistons. So, let's say you got the first number correct. Boom. So now we've got power flowing through this block to here. You get the third number correct. Now, power's not flowing yet, but it can when it's all finished, because then when you get the second one correct, power's flowing all the way through the machine to the end, and it is working. Now you may say, well, then all you have to do is push all the buttons, right? Well, that is possible. What I like to do is if somebody pushes a wrong button, you have that running to the opposite side, and it powers and it kills the machine, forcing them to then have to get the combination correct again. Now, once again, super noisy. People will hear those pistons go, and every time they hear a piston go cha-chunk, or a single piston go cha-chunk, they will know that they have got one of the 3 combos correct. Well, we can do it quietly. What we have here is, we have power to a comparator, to the side, and it's reversed by putting the light on. And that will kill the signal. So that later, whenever you have a combo lock, put power into this block, it reverses the torch as we talked about, and reversed all this, allowing the power to flow through. 1, 2, 3, and the combo works. Now, the one side about this one is you can't use just a temporary power. It has to be continuous flow. If we were to push a button and a button and a button, it temporarily powers them, but it doesn't actually allow it to go through. The last thing I want to show you is the item filter. Warning, warning, warning. This only works with stackable items. Don't think you can do swords or armor or anything that doesn't stack, because this will not work, okay? So this device is so simple, I'm just basically going to show you. This is what you need to build. There are some variations. There are some different ones that have the redstone line going further. There are some that use a target block right here at this location. There are different things, but this is the basic of how it works. What you have is, it is reading this comparator right here, which is poking out in a weird direction. It's looking at how much is in here to determine how far it should be pushing the redstone signal. So what I have done here is put just the minimum, or I guess the maximum of what you can put in before this line pushes all the way here, and then turns this off. Remember the redstone torch reversal we talked about? This is using that technique again, allowing this to actually allow things to flow through it and move on. Now, as you see here, I'm using a sign. It doesn't have to be stackable by 64. It can be stackable by 16. But you got a sign, 38 here, 1, 1, 1. That whole thing is full, but it's not powerful enough to push all the way to the end. However, if you put an item in, it will be powerful enough. I actually probably show this first. It's empty there. Whenever it comes down here, it makes it too strong. It pushes the redstone all the way through, turning off this power and allowing the item to come through. My goodness, that was a ton of redstone. I am sorry if you're not really a redstone person, or you're such a redstone person that was boring to you. I just really felt like I wanted to take a moment, this one opportunity to explain all the redstone I'm going to be using on this map, and get it, so that you guys can understand and follow along if you didn't already. Yes? Okay. Well, let's, I guess go build now, I guess. I'm tired of talking about redstone. Okay, I know I just spent a whole bunch of time teaching you some redstone, and that is not what I taught you. This is kind of more of an unusual one-time redstone use thing. Not much for a tutorial. However, I am planning on using a lot of what I showed you in this area down below. I'll give you a better peek at the end of the episode for those of you who are looking for spoilers or on hints on how to complete the puzzle. For now, I want to build one of the pillars. It's going to be amazing, and it's going to be another great example of what I was talking about as compromise as far as the design goes compared to the original. The original was a single colored white pillar, which I could do. It wouldn't look great in Minecraft. It would look super flat. So I decided I wanted to do a few different blocks in this build. However, I don't want to sprinkle around different blocks because I'm not trying to make it look like it's aged or like the blocks are weathered. I want the design to look intentional. So I'm changing up a couple different kinds of whites just so that I can get it to have a little bit of, let's say gradient, which I guess technically is what it is. But I'm mainly trying to achieve just a little bit of, so we use the word niceness, I guess. I guess that's the word, niceness. There we go, see what I mean? I've got a few different kind of blocks in there to make it look, more interesting than just a single pillar of diorite. But it looks like it's been done intentionally to give layers to it as opposed to just kind of haphazardly. I think it looks pretty good. Let's make 7 more of those. There we are, 8 pillars complete. Now we need to put a fountain in the middle. Here, if you look at the shot from Myst, you see it's kind of a small, nondescript fountain. I'm gonna have to veer away from that a little bit because I can't make something that small and still make it kind of useful in the way that it needs to be. So I'm going to use the same kind of stone palette that I used for the pillars onto the fountain and make something hopefully kind of small, cute, and adorable. Just like me. And there we go, little cute little fountain. I spread out the base a little bit more than I probably would have if I was not building this in Minecraft, simply because I felt like stepping it up by half slabs was kind of better looking than all the other alternatives, and I needed people to have access to the fountain. You'll understand when you play it. Well, all right, as the sun is setting, I think this is the perfect time to do a beautiful RTX reveal. Okay, we did it. It was a big day. If you're sticking around to learn about how this puzzle works, I'll see you in a second. But if not, I hope that you found the redstone helpful, and I hope that you found today's episode adequate. Okay, it's confession time for those of you who stuck around. I did not build the redstone yet. Nope. It kind of matters what the other redstone is before I actually finish this one. But don't worry, I can still show you what the plan is, and I can still tell you what the tips are for those of you who are stuck trying to work the puzzle right now. Okay, tip number 1, if you just want an easy one, I will tell you the answer to this puzzle can be found on top of a mountain. Okay? I know it's very mysterious for those of you who are following along in real time. For those of you who already have the entire map, you probably already know what I'm talking about. Tip number 2 is you will take that information and you will put them in the books. You will turn the book to the page at the color indicated. Okay, I'm going to give you the answer. Are you ready? Turn away if you don't want to know. The answer is green 32, blue 12, brown 22. The only difference with the redstone here than what I had before is that it's going to be vertical. So I'll have a zigzagging line of glass blocks with redstone coming down. At the appropriate location, I'll peel it off and send it over. And at the one below, I'll peel it off and kill the signal so that it won't work at maximum all the time. And now you're probably wondering about that weird redstone in the middle. So when somebody gets all the combination correct, it'll come in here and feed this. It will reverse these signals. And it'll first trip the dispensers here, spitting out water up above, and then pushing up this piston. Then you'll come to the fountain, you will find water has filled up in here, and in the middle, a barrel has pushed up with the key that you need. And you'll take that key over to the last puzzle over by the docks. All right, happy hunting, everyone.